This is the all-new generation of the BMW X6 today in our full driving review, and it comes directly for you as M50i. So this review is a story about SUV coupes and illuminated double kidneys. Here on Autogefühl with Thomas in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! And that was already 110. Please subscribe if you haven't done so far. And here, the all-new BMW X6, it has a different double kidney than the X5 actually, so a little bit different from the form. And if you compare it to the predecessor X6, this one here even stronger in the front. And of course, this new three-dimensional look of the double kidney. Closed fins here at the moment on the inside, they open on demand, so this is more efficient than that they just open when the additional airflow is needed. As the M50i, it has also a stronger lower bumper and those air intake style here in the lower parts, so really aggressive. Riverside blue is the color for today. Yeah, a nice Thomas blue, as we call strong blue tones here on Autogefühl. Then those headlamps are now more horizontally oriented, LED as a standard, optional adaptive LED, and those ones are the optional laser lights. 500 meters of high beam range, at least in Europe. In US, it's a little bit restricted for half of the high beam range due to regulations, but you still get those blue accentuations. That's some guys all just go for those because it looks quite cool. But it's also extra in price, of course. Yeah, and then about this very special feature at the moment, because in the front side, it's nice to see the daytime running lights right here like they are, but there's also this illuminated front double kidney. And why is it shut off at the moment? Well, when the daytime running light is on, that doesn't work, sadly. But it's also a reason, or that's the explanation, how they could make this legal. The first point is, when you have a direct light source, like an illuminated Mercedes star, it's allowed in some US states, in others not. That is not allowed in Europe, for example. So they had to, A, put an indirect lighting, so the light is on the inside and doesn't shine to the outside, but to the inside of the grille. And the second reason is, they could actually allow it or use this so-called homologation because they said it belongs to one of the headlight units. And then, the different countries say, yeah, okay, then we allow that. And so that means that the illuminated front double kidney only works when the real light is on. Not only the daytime running light, but the real main headlamp unit is on. Then also the middle part is on and also allowed while driving. 4 meters 93, 16 foot 2 or 195 inches is the length of the X6. It's the same as for the X5, so also the same wheelbase. Whereas Mercedes differentiates the wheelbase between GLE and GLE Coupe, they go for the same wheelbase right there. And that means also they have the same features and somewhat the same driving dynamics. However, the X6 is set up a little bit sportier as for the suspension. Suspension starts with an adaptive suspension directly, then there's an adaptive M suspension with a little bit stiffer setup, and then optionally you can also go for the air suspension. And also this one here directly gets the rear differential lock, the M50i. And what you can also get is the rear axle steering. They call it integral active steering here now with BMW, that it also includes this rear axle steering feature to reduce the turning circle and to make it a little bit more agile at slower speeds and give more stability than at higher speeds. So it goes at lower speeds in the opposite direction than the front wheels and at higher speeds in the same direction as the front wheels. Very interesting. And also the anti-tilt control, the anti-roll control that works a little bit against it in the corners. Also very interesting feature. But what about the design? This is the main thing about the X6. First of all, again, the Riverside blue color, then the M50i gets those cerium gray contrasts here at the side mirrors, for example, the M badge for the M performance models. Those ones here are 21-inch wheels, not the biggest. There's also 22-inch wheels available. We soon show you an M performance parts car, and that one also solves a big problem because here the logo at the BMW wheels is not upright at the moment. With the 22-inch wheels, you see there's this special wheel where the logo always stays upright up to a speed of 80 kilometers an hour. We'll soon reveal that secret to you. Then the rest of design here with the glossy black and the M50i. And then, of course, the difference to the X5, we have this falling roofline. It looks a little bit more elegant than before if you compare to the predecessor. Again, comparison predecessor X6, a little bit longer, a little bit wider, but not too much dimension change. And very interesting also this black accentuation right here again and the very strong shoulders. And in this case also the wheel arches are painted in the vehicle color. What do you think? The rear is where the biggest design change happens here if you compare it to the outgoing model. Here, more horizontally drawn tail lamps, and that makes the rear on the one hand more elegant, on the other hand it stretches the width also. Then this additional spoiler lip here in the vehicle color, M50i badge right there, and also this M performance model gets the gray contrast in the lower part together with the vehicle color diffuser style, and those are beauty exhaust tips on the outside, the rear ones on the inside, and 4 exhaust pipes actually here for this V8 model. And what's also interesting, talked about the air suspension earlier, you can either go 4 centimeters up or 4 centimeters down, depending on the driving situation. 4 centimeters up, of course, off-road. And indeed, also for the X6, they offer this off-road package. They also offer for the X5 because they said customers demanded it. If you want to take your X6 off-road, well, maybe not the hardest off-road situations, but some B roads or whatever. So apart from a small engine for the Chinese market, the X6 worldwide is all about those 3-liter 6-cylinder engines, and in this case also the 4.4-liter V8. So the M50i here, 4.4-liter V8, 530 horsepower, and just over 4 seconds the acceleration figure to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. All-wheel drive, of course, with the rear wheel biased is standard. As an alternative, there would also be the 40i, which is a 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine, 340 horsepower. The consumption difference will be about 3 liters on 100 kilometers or 10 mpg, so the 6-cylinder definitely more fuel saving. And then there's also a diesel side, especially for the European markets, either a 30D, that's in a 3-liter 6-cylinder, in this case then with 265 horsepower, and also the M50D, the strong diesel, same base engine so to say, but a higher horsepower tune than with 400 horsepower. This is the car key. You can also get the normal slim one. This one here, the computer key I call it, is also light, so it's not heavy, but of course a little bit thicker in your pocket then. But there's one good advantage, and for people like me, sometimes I leave the car and say, did I really close it? I don't know, I can't remember. And here I can actually see it, if it's closed or not. And then you can also, for example, use the preconditioning if you have an independent heating in the car and so on. So yeah, also has a advantage. But there's also keyless entry. First of all, to close the car, you put your finger on here, then it closes, or the hand on the inside, then it opens again. Door closing sound. Yeah, quite solid. I've heard better ones, but I've also heard worse ones. Then higher interior build quality if you compare it to the predecessor. Hofmeister King design element here for the door handles on the inside. Everything galvanized as for this part. Really cool. Then carbon fiber inlets here for the M50i. You can also get different decor elements, of course, for the X6 in general. Reasonable door pockets also for bigger bottles. Then the M50i also gets those entry badges and also aluminum pedals. next to a sportier M steering wheel, which can also be heated with a separated button on the steering wheel. And those seats here are also a sportier version. So for the X5, for example, you can also get other base seats. The X6 is already a little bit sporty in some elements. And sadly for the X6, only animal skin seats available so far. In the X5, you can also get the more sustainable and animal-friendly SensorTech material. I really love the combination as for the color. Just wish this one was also available in SensorTech, but I would probably go for the BMW individual program, then order a SensorTech for me, because obviously it's possible. But I mean, this combination from the blue to the beige is just beautiful. You know, the color combination, that's really cool. Seats from the form is really comfortable. You have the upright seating position. It's not too different from the X5. Of course, the A-pillar here is a little bit flatter, so in the X5 you have a little bit more open feeling. Here, sportier, somewhat more caged-in feeling, but still you get this elaborate, high, big SUV driving feeling, which is pretty cozy and pretty comfy. Then the steering wheel can be adjusted here with the electric support, and you can find a good driving position. And even if you're 1.86 or 6'1", as I am, still some headroom left, so for tall people, no problem. But again, the X5 will be a little bit better as for this case. But you go for the X5 because you want to have that sportier styling, of course. Interior overview, everything is very well organized, but also digitalized. Here we got the carbon fiber inlets, and this digital cockpit is also standard 12.3-inch screens on both sides, actually. Soon leads to those screens and also the other ones right there. First of all, the steering wheel, again with a compact size, M form. Then on the right side, you can activate the voice activation with a button, or also say, "Hello BMW, drive me to Berlin." That would be one example. Okay. So for the GPS input, for example, that works very well. Some takes a while, if you know, depending on the web connection. But here you can see, works pretty well. You can also change the temperature for that and also ask the car some things, and you can just try it around. And it's a good system, the best one at the moment, together with the MBUX of Mercedes. Then the rest of the steering wheel. On the left side, you have the adaptive cruise control, also with the highway mode. It can also change lanes, by the way, if it's allowed in your country to do that. The shifting pedals here also, plus and minus, or with the 8-speed automatic converter gearbox. Then, if we go back to the middle part right here again, zoom more details to that screen. First of all, the climate unit is still separate here. You can control it while driving, like this. And also with AC on and off, that's cool. I like to be able to do that, to shut off the AC sometimes if I like to. Not possible in the 3 Series, by the way, but here it is. Then the lower part with the metal knurled knob for the volume. And some hotkeys you can set individually. Then this carbon fiber middle part. I'm not sure about this folding process, not too happy about that all the time. But that looks cool when it's closed. When it's open, we have the inductive charging pad for your smartphone. It makes sense because you have the wireless Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto yet. And there's a USB-A charger, 12-volt power supply, adaptive cup holders, and they can be, if you have that option, heated or cooled. You can also see it then with the color what's happening at the moment. So that's definitely pretty fancy. We also have this crystal gear shifting lever for this very vehicle here, together with the knob, turning and pressing. And you can also write letters of an address if you like so. Driving modes, we'll talk about that when we drive the car. Here you can also see that we do not have the air suspension in this very vehicle today, but the adaptive suspension. Otherwise, we could also adjust the air suspension right here if you have an X6 with an air suspension. And then the middle armrest right there. Splits open like this. And then there's a USB-C charger and with some reasonable space. Yeah, here we go. The BMW wings as a top light. I still love that feature. And also cool, a frameless back mirror. Elegant, but also gives you a good view. Of course, in the X6, the view to the rear is somewhat limited. Infotainment system detail right there. So, whoa. Yeah, that takes some processing power, but if you're closer up, then also it's more responsive. Good GPS direction, routing here as well. You always have the hotkeys to be able to go back to the main menu. Phone connection, either Bluetooth or then with the Apple CarPlay wireless. that time it also connected quite fastly, and the sound system built in here is also quite cool. So we have the nice surround sound. I like that. This one here, the top sound system that's available, the Harman Kardon sound system, you can see it here at the inside top speaker. Delivers you a very nice sound, and you can always play around with the sound settings as well. Where would that be? Here at car settings, general settings, sound. Here Logic 7 sound, and you can, for example, I always boost the surround sound. That, you know, just is a little bit cooler then. So, and the Apple CarPlay integration, by the way, if we go to the main menu, see here, it goes all over the screen. That's also well done. Like that, very crystal clear. You can see everything very well, and always can go back to the BMW menu. And what's also cool with the car settings right there, if you go to driving information, you have the sport settings, you have the G-forces and so on. That's possible. Or the X view, where you can see, you know, how the car leans, and also have the compass in the middle. Those digital instruments give you a good overview of what's happening, and also the M50i gets a special badge in there. And yeah, we also have a blue car as a visualization, so that is very fitting. And if we turn on the car, you can see everything. Yeah, the steering wheel also moves down. That's also a comfort feature and comes towards you a little bit. Left side speed, right side RPMs. And if you have a route set, you can also see there's a map on the inside. That's again also the reason why they made the RPMs counterclockwise, so they have more space on the inside for the, yeah, Jonas likes to rev it up, man. So overall, I think a very cool instrument right there. Not as flexible as the ones that Audi is offering. You have more, you know, situations where you can flip it around or change the view, but actually this is all you need. So I can also understand the decision just to leave it like this, because you don't have the urge to change anything there. Head-up display is a good option always, with the speed, allowed speed, and also some GPS directions. At the moment we only see an arrow, but when you approach the next intersection you will also see a more sophisticated visualization of the next intersection. Now to the rear compartment, which is very interesting. First of all, also soft materials at the inside of the doors right here. Nice design, same as in the front. And you can already see, yeah, there's not abundance of space. I mean, there's a little bit more room than in the previous generation, yes. However, if you consider the length of the vehicle on the outside, then the space you have on the inside, it's of course somewhat limited. And the big question is also, what about the roofline? What does it do? And I mean, the bench here is falling backwards a little bit. That ensures you to have some more headroom left. I always say that falling backwards benches are not that comfortable. That's what I experienced. So you can also see that, you know, here the space then under my legs. So I don't like it that much. I found more comfortable in the X5. Legroom wise, it still works somewhat, yes. But again, the package is bad. So we have cars that are way shorter and have more interior space, but it still works for 4 tall adults. Even headroom is no problem, because they adjusted, you know, somewhat of the rear bench. But again, if you want most comfort, go for the X5. But at least they did some measures to ensure a head and legroom still also in the X6. So you can drive it here. You know, it feels a little bit weird sitting that low in the rear bench, definitely. But you can also use it for child seats with the Isofix on the outsides each. Then you have this middle armrest right there with a cubby hole and some cup holders to flip out, and they are also, you know, a little bit adaptive. You can also use this ski hatch just if you want to, yeah, like this. Just want to use the middle part here for your skiers, but you can also flip the seats directly from here in a 2/3, 1/3 split. That's possible. And of course, a middle tunnel, but since this car is an SUV and sits high, the step here is somewhat limited. So you have an additional AC unit if you like. Also, of course, again, an option also with seat heating, but that's again also an option. Some cubby hole right there, 12-volt power supply in the lower part. Oh, cool. Both heated seats at the moment. Yeah, it's quite cold still outside this morning. Then, in the middle part, you can also sit. It's a little bit, you know, stiff in the middle part, but it still works also for, you know, shorter waist, and also with a third adult in the rear. To open the rear hatch, you can either use the button in the lower part, you can click on the key, you can click on the inside of the door in the driver's part, but you can also use the foot kick opening mechanism like this with a short kick. Here we go. And then it opens, and yeah, you're of course a little bit limited if you compare it to the normal SUV form. You have this little bit weird folding mechanism here for the top cover. In width, it's all the same, in length as well. It's just the height right here, but the boot volume is also measured below the cover, and that means they don't differ that much. Here in the X6, 580 to 1,525 liters, whereas the X5 has 645 to 1,860 liters. So that's in the first liter figure only a difference of 140 liters, and again the reason is that it's measured below here, and then the difference is not too big. So right here with hydraulic struts here, this additional cubby hole. You can also have a replacement tire if you want one, but this one also quite handy for some, whatever you want to store right there. Pretty interesting. And if we take some measurements now for you, the normal length here is more than a meter, 1 meter and 5, as well as the width is, well, here in the very front, more than 1 meter 20. And if we go into the inside right there, it's even here, more than a meter, so even almost 1 meter and 10. That's really pretty decent. And the height right here, again, this one is not the biggest difference. Below the cover, this is 44 or 43 centimeters. Just the very top part is limited then if you compare it to the X5. You can actually also flip the seats from here, and they directly fold flat. You can see it also at the other side, and this is a very handy function, definitely. And this looks actually quite decent. So for most things you can use also the X6 very well. I would think about when I put my mountain bike with demounted front tire and then the handlebars are standing upright or something, then the X5 would be, better. But other than that, for most other cases, there won't be too much difference. And this one is almost 1 meter 90 in length then to the seat as I would be driving. What about the child safety test when I use this one here? That's pretty sensitive, so very well done. Up and down again. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the M50i here of the all-new X6, and we can put it to sport mode, and don't have to care about that or have to worry about that. The engine is already warm. We've driven like a lot of kilometers already, so it's no problem to also put the shifting stick to the manual shifting box and then also go to the track or sport traction mode, dynamic traction control activated, and then we can really also floor this engine out. This will be pretty amazing, and you can also listen to the V8 sound. So let's go. Plop, and that was already 110. Whoa. And I was not even starting in a straight line. I had to steer a little bit. You maybe have seen that. And this all-wheel drive brought all the traction to the ground, and great sound from the V8 engine. Wow. So very impressive acceleration, and that must have been somewhat 4 seconds. So wow. So the X6 a little bit sportier in the orientation as the X5. Also, we do not have the air suspension in here. There's the adaptive M suspension. This car standardly comes with the adaptive suspension and makes the car a little bit sportier, and the air suspension more like a carpet ride. But the air suspension, both for X5 and the X6, is laid out in a quite sporty way, definitely. In any case, if you are in a sport mode, you have more feedback from the road, so this feels really stiff now, together with the anti-roll control or anti-tilt control. This really keeps the car upright. So although we're in a big, high-seating SUV, if I do induce some slalom here, you surely see that already on camera. The car just keeps straight. It does not lean anywhere. So that's really amazing and astonishing for a car of that size, of that segment. So that really feels sporty, and the car feels smaller and sportier than it actually is segment or vehicle type wise. So wow, that's really amazing. Steering wise, also a good feeling. Again, I would need some, a little bit more feedback from the low degree angle input. So, but it's actually quite okay. And then you get nice feedback when you go a little bit further. So that's actually cool. And in any case, very sporty. Wow. And this V8 growling, this is of course a difference than to a 6-cylinder. So definitely better sound, but fuel consumption will be higher. Well, I mean, the other engines that are available are also quite powerful, so you don't need to go for the V8. Of course, also really high in the entry price, that's another thing. Then if you go to the comfort mode again, sound gets a little bit more silent, suspension gets a little bit more comfortable, and you can also cruise through the city. Put back the shifting lever, that we also don't turn up the RPMs that high. So the shifting characteristics are also changed. In this manual mode, you rather want to use the shifting pedals, of course. You've seen with the launch control that the car also does shift itself. It just keeps it, longer in the individual gears. But here, then a little bit more silent. Right there, we also don't want to wake up all the neighbors here when we're in the village. When we're outside, we can tune it up more, just a little bit then. And so this car can actually still do both. That's what I like with the M Performance models, that you still have sportiness and comfort at the very same time. And here now, even if you're on the comfort mode, just maybe shift back 2 gears here with the shifting pedals. Or maybe the car shifts back another gear itself once more. Very interesting light and surrounding here now also with this morning fog we have, pretty spectacular. So yeah, definitely something to enjoy here for you. We're just outside of Munich, near the BMW headquarters as well, and I'm really enjoying this countryside drive here with the BMW X6. It is definitely more agile than the previous generation. Maybe even like an M Performance model of this generation can keep up with the true M model of the X6 of the previous generation. So more agility, more stiffness in the chassis, at the same time better noise insulation, and of course more power here also for the M Performance model. And the true M model will get the same engine, just with a different horsepower tune, and will of course be more aggressive. But here we already feel the rear wheel bias from this permanent all-wheel drive, which is doing a great job. And again, the difference between X6 and the X5, this one does feel somewhat sporty, especially here in the M50i trim, but it's not that you would feel, oh, those are two so incredibly different cars. You do feel the resemblance, but then the question is, what you want design focus wise on the exterior. And so if you want a little bit more, spice in the driving, yeah, it's just definitely a matter of preference. What I really like is with the X5 that you more have an open travel feeling when you're driving. Definitely this one here a little bit more sportier, caged in, but that's also, some prefer that, others prefer the other thing. So definitely great what they did here with the suspension. Although I usually tend to like it in a normal base setup because it gives you a little bit more comfort. But here then, if you want the M50i with and the X6, then probably it's also a good choice to make it a little bit stiffer, just to serve the needs of the customers that go exactly for that. And here also noise insulation wise, you can improve it again at 100 kilometers or 60 miles an hour. Stays perfectly silent in here. The only thing that you can then hear is this V8 engine. That's probably also how it's supposed to be. So now back to 80 kilometers. The brakes are also really aggressive. That's pretty cool. 21-inch wheels still work. I would not go for 22-inch wheels. That's a little bit too much, and also you lose comfort. We experienced that recently in the M50D from the X7 as well. I would rather go with maybe even 20-inch wheels, just have more dampening from the tires themselves, and then it's also not that bad when suspension is maybe a little bit stiffer, so rather go for smaller wheels. Yeah, I know the bigger ones look cooler, but the smaller wheels just give you a little bit more comfort, and they're just better in everyday driving life. Also, if you think about damaging some wheels or something, that definitely also makes a difference. Now this V8 growling is always pretty nice. Definitely can live with that. Although, especially when we're driving on European roads, like the 40i will definitely be enough. And it will also be the most important engine worldwide. This one here definitely, if you can and want to spend more money on that, and also want to spend more time at the fuel station. So soon we'll also head onto the motorway for some everyday driving situations, and I also talk more about the everyday driving life fuel economy. What I also want to do is do just a short turnaround to show you like how flexible this car still is somewhat. Also, you can show you something of the camera systems. Because I mean, it's not a small car, but still when you use the camera systems and also this rear axle steering, then you are somewhat still flexible because the turning circle is reduced. So I can also, turn the car around right here. You don't exactly see it with your own eyes, how the rear wheels are turning, but you somehow feel it that especially in the low speed areas, the car is definitely more agile. Like here, there you, for example, feel it. So it fakes a smaller wheelbase, so to say. Then you can always go back to the sports mode and you see how it accelerates when it's already at speed. Here, for example, again, 50 kilometers to 100. Plop, and that's already it. That was 107 already. Wow. And you see that the car really there's an anti-tilt control right and left, but just from this pure acceleration, the car leans backwards then when it accelerates, like woo. That's always definitely funny to experience. And I'll use the next right turn also to show again how stable the car stays in the corner actually. And the corner speeds that are possible with this big SUV are also amazing. Look at that now, and wow. Little bit rubbing the tire to the ground, but see how upright the car went there. That's really amazing. So big and heavy SUV, but it feels so sporty. That's actually what they wanted to achieve, and indeed they could. And that has also been further enhanced with this generation. So pretty impressed with that, definitely. So much fun also to accelerate out of the corners here in those winding countryside corners. Oh, this T6 bus is also quite some speed right there. So this is one of the rare big SUVs where you can still have a lot of driving fun just on the countryside routes, and you can definitely compare it, with the Porsche Cayenne driving dynamic wise. This is what I think would probably come closest to it. The Audi Q8 is also doing quite well, also in the driving dynamics and comforts, combination and so on. And we also have videos of those cars, of course. You should check them out. So always good to compare some of the competitors. Definitely, that's always fun to do that. So definitely great fun driving experience here with the all-new X6. And of course, throughout this, let's say, model history, this new generation, we'll also keep you updated with more engine versions if you like. Oh, this guy is already saying like, we better leave those guys by. Now uphill. Wow. Oh, birds, pay attention. Wow, and this great tour here through the morning fog. I hope you really enjoy that together with me. Quite spectacular atmosphere just for you. And again, great job here from the adaptive suspension, even though we are in the sport mode, not really missing any comfort. Wow. So what do you think here for our sporty part? Now to some calmer driving parts here on the motorway at 120 kilometers an hour, cruise control, and the absolute minimum consumption you can score is some
10 liters on 100 kilometers if you have cruise control at 100 or 120 kilometers an hour set, or like 60 to 70 miles per hour set. And that's then, like 25 mpg is something. But the usual, more realistic fuel consumption would be like at least 12 liters 1 kilometers, so a low 20 mpg or 23 mpg UK. That is rather realistic, and that's not even with exaggerating it and using all the power. So this V8 definitely higher in the fuel consumption than the 6-cylinder, as I also told you earlier. Here the blind spot monitor you can see. There the yellow triangle is flashing. That's definitely a good option to go for. AEB, autonomous emergency brake, is a standard equipment. This more sophisticated ACC, adaptive cruise control, is also an option, but you can get those driving assistant packages, for example. And there's also this assisted or this highway pilot mode, and there the car is being kept in the lane. Yeah, there it is. Keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times, so please don't repeat the demonstrations I do here. Just want to show you that it works actually. And what's also now working again, even in Europe, it was forbidden for quite some time because of the regulations. Now it's allowed again. Here when I hold the turning indicator, and then the car is doing the lane shift itself. So I was not doing that. I was just holding onto the steering wheel. So yeah, if that's that necessary and useful, that's maybe on another sheet of paper. I don't know. I mean, you can say why not? It's also like more again a transition to autonomous driving, but if I just leave the car doing that, or if I turn the steering wheel a little bit myself, yeah, I'm not sure if there's a big difference for that. What is cool, definitely, that you can also drive this engine in a calm way, and it's really very silent and sophisticated, confident, and noise insulation is really cool, so I don't have to raise my voice here that much. It's also improved if you compare it to the previous generation, so a very great, relaxed and silent ride. And of course, anytime you want, you can also rev it up and then have even more power available when again with the shifting pedals, with the sports driving mode and so on. But here in the comfort mode, also just fine, and the suspension is also good for a relaxing ride, definitely. The normal adaptive suspensions at BMW are so great that you do not need an air suspension necessarily. Here in this adaptive M suspension mode, it's a little bit stiffer than the normal adaptive suspension, yes, so you lose some comfort to some extent. Then it feels a little bit sportier, as I told you earlier, but you can still live with that very well. So probably if I would take an X5 or an X6, I can very well imagine just sticking with the normal adaptive suspension that has a good compromise between comfort and sportiness, and then you don't have to go for the expensive air suspension, and especially when you keep the car for a longer time and think about like long-term maintenance and so on, then the normal adaptive suspension will be cheaper on the long run. So that's maybe also something you might want to take into consideration. So also feeling very well here with the car, just cruising, and that's not too big of a difference to the X5. Yeah, the X5, as I told you earlier, leaves a little bit more room, a little bit more travel feeling, and this one here always, especially with this visual impression it does, a little bit more aggressiveness. And then the M50i here with the adaptive M suspension, also a little bit more sporty spice, but small nuances definitely. Yeah, and that you can say about all X6 and X5 models. They're also, even if they're in the sporty tune, very, very good travel cars.
And a short excursion how you can make your X6 a little bit more, even more aggressive, like this with the M performance parts. So you can basically make yourself an X6M, but just on the visual base. For example, you can see it here already in the front with those carbon fiber double kidneys right there, and also in the lower part. Riverside Blue is the color right here. Yeah, we could call it also Thomas Blue, a very beautiful, very bright one. And there are more features throughout the vehicle. Here in the side profile, glossy black elements, also here around the windows. Then we have this black inlet here with the M Performance logo. And right there, 22-inch wheels, really massive, also with some very nice details. For example, also here the valve caps right there with an M logo, painted wheel arches, then M logo. And this is actually an M50D, but again, as I said, this is almost as the X6M will look like. What do you think? And in the rear, there's an additional carbon fiber lip right there, then black X6 logo, carbon fiber lower diffuser, so really massive. Yeah, those ones are the outer beauty tips, the real exhaust pipes are on the inside, here in this M50D. So what do you think? Is it too aggressive for you, or will it be exactly your pick? By the way, you also realized I changed outfit because we filmed this part here at another day. And there are more special things to those wheels, not only the red brake cable calipers, which are great in contrast, but also here, the logo, the BMW logo, you can see it right here. You can play with that all day. And yeah, one of the major problems when owning a car is, of course, that the logo would not be upright when you stand still and park the car. So this problem is finally solved. You maybe know it from Rolls-Royce that the logo stays upright. It's really interesting. We can take a look at it not only here, but also we have a tire right there. First of all, from the front, separate tire, and like this, so funny. And even if I'm rolling the tire now, you can see it stays upright like this, really funny. And if I turn around like this, you can see how it works. Here, the lower part has a weight and the upper part is empty, and therefore it's always staying then like this. So today I'm training for the vegan strongman with my colleague Patrick Baboumian. Best greetings to him. Wow, those 22-inch wheels, they are really, really heavy. And a short look at the interior, which is mainly dominated by carbon fiber in this M Performance look. Instead of the doors, or also next to the steering wheel. Oh, and yes, the floor mats, even more important, M Performance floor mats. How could I live without them? And well, and at the steering wheel, you also have carbon fiber inlets. And also, if you look behind that, the shifting pads, right there, the pedals, they also have carbon fiber. But even more, you can see it, of course, at the steering wheel. And the most use of carbon fiber is at the middle console, lower middle console, around the shifting lever, right there. And, well, I think that's actually quite cool, because then you have less high gloss black in the interior, and actually I hardly see any anymore. So, yeah, carbon fiber style, not too bad, actually. And back here for our conclusion for today with the all-new BMW X6. In the exterior, it is a little bit sportier and more elegant than the previous generation, so I think that works very well. Interior, stepped up the build quality, and of course, we know it already from the X5 that isn't too different. Really a very lovely interior. Sadly, unlike with the X5, no animal skin alternatives yet. At least BMW promised that they're working on that, and also, of course, for future models, but still a disappointment right here. Then the interior space, I mean, it's more or less the same also with the X5, just that the trunk space, you can live with that, no problem. You lose a little bit in height then if you want to transport something which is really high, then the X5 is actually better for you. This one then, if you prefer this sportier styling. Driving-wise, also somewhat similar to the X5, of course. This one set out from the basic setup, a little bit sportier, you do feel it. And of course, as the M50i, this is the most powerful, the most fun engine you can get so far. Yes, there will also be the X5M and the X6M, which will be the most powerful then from the real M lineup. This one here, the M Performance model, so the most powerful from the normal lineup from the X5 and the X6. Definitely a lot of fun. Well, yeah, this 8-cylinder always has also a high fuel consumption, so that's no doubt, have to live with that. My pick would actually be the 6-cylinder petrol engine, both for the X5 and the X6, or thinking about even the PHEV model. This could be a very clever choice. This one here, if you really want this V8 sound, and if you, want to spend more money also on fuel. But definitely a great acceleration, a lot of fun when you really floor this car out. What do you think about the all-new X6? Please leave us your comments there in the section, and also see you next time.